welcome everyone to our 16th Esports Lunch Lecture Germany, which at the same time is the start of our third season, which is actually kind of crazy to me. But well, here we are. My name is Nepomuk Nothelfer, and today I have the pleasure of substituting for our head of Esports Law Focus Group, Morrison. So to all of the Moritz fans out there, I do apologize, but I promise I will do my best as the moderator of this session. And when I talk about session, some of you might not be familiar with the ELLGs, the Esports Lunch Lectures Germany. Well, every month we strive to bring our guest, that's you, closer to the specifics of esports law in Germany, while sometimes, today for example, having a more international look on esports and of course related topics. As always, we will have a 10 to 15, maybe 20-minute presentation. We will go with the flow, which will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. We have a Esport SKW Schwartz Esports YouTube channel, and the video should be there in about a week or two. You will be able to see the link, hopefully in the chat in a moment. On the one hand, our YouTube link and our newsletter link. Afterwards, we'll have a 10 to 15 minute Q&A session, which will not be recorded. So everyone, you're free to ask the most crazy question you have. There won't be any record of it on the internet, because we have a crazy topic today and a crazy, amazing speaker as well. As most of us know, esports and gaming, they both are closely related to content creation, and there might still be the occasional investment deck, getting those different industries, let's say, mixed up for whatever reason. But we have someone here with us today who knows both of these industries and of course the intersection better than 99.9% of people out there. So please welcome with me Ryan Morrison. Ryan, great to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Great to have you here. You started in New York and later founded the Evolve Talent Agency in 2016, working with amazing talents, renowned content creators like XQC, Amaranth, or Alinity, but also for many years now, top-notch esports pros like, for example, Asuna, 100 Thieves, if I remember correctly, and as a G2 esports fan, RDU, of course, Hearthstone.
Right.
And
he's the best human around too.
That's amazing. I actually met him once, so I think you're right on that front as well. And in 2018, you founded the law firm Morrison Cooper, which more precisely was Morrison Ruffman back then, but is now Morrison Cooper, and you guys are mainly based in LA. And I guess that's one of the best guests you can ask for. And I'm really, really looking forward to our conversation or your presentation now. And with that, let's go.
Yeah, and I appreciate that very kind introduction. But yeah, to dig into that just a little bit more deeply so that you do know I know what I'm talking about. I started in 2014 as a solo attorney, seeing some luck and quick success growing in both the video game and content creator space, which quickly led to the esports space. But since 2014, so just shy of a decade now, we've been representing the majority of the top players in most games and titles, not just in North America, but across the world. In 2016, we started Evolve Talent Agency. So I was the first licensed attorney to represent esports players on Earth. And I was the first, Evolve was the first licensed talent agency to represent players on the other side of the business in existence as well. So we've really seen everything kind of from the start, where esports was a grassroots community, a lot of people just coming in and that just enjoyed the games or played it professionally themselves. And professionally back then meant just they played a lot of hours a day. They were getting grounded, missing school to do that. And that very quickly evolved into a bigger ecosystem where, as with anything that has a lot of eyeballs, a bunch of people who don't understand that ecosystem come in, infuse a bunch of money, hoping to see a big return on their money. And that led to a lot of chaos. And I think it's important to start there, that esports is still at war between those two worlds. There's the grassroots, passionate fans, players, and team owners versus the more, and just because they have money doesn't mean they're bad, but the people that might not necessarily have understood esports as much that came in seeing the opportunity here and trying to maximize that. So you can just look across the LCS or the European versions as such and see the different team owners and whether they started as a player, started as a fan, or if they came in and acquired one of those older organizations and now they're running it like a business. The problem with esports since its inception has always been revenue. So as players got better and as more people with money came into the ecosystem to try to get those players and win, it created a lot of bidding wars, and it created a lot of salary back and forth that many of the players still don't. To back up even a little bit further, when I came into esports, it was really a terrible place to be if you were a professional player. The standard, this was not the wild exceptions, the standard existence for an esports player was every waking minute was scheduled and organized by the team owner that they had signed with. Most of them lived in a team house sharing 3 people to a bedroom. They weren't allowed guests. They weren't allowed a significant other, no boyfriends or girlfriends. They weren't allowed to go choose what food they ate. Their entire life was scheduled and run to the T. And in America, that is very important because in America, we're, go us, we're the only first world country without health insurance or things like that as a right. So if your life is this controlled by your employer, you are in American law considered an employee and you're supposed to get all those benefits. But esports called no one an employee. Everybody they would refer to as a contractor. However, most had to be up at 8 a.m. sharp. They would go to the gym for an hour. Then they would come down and sit at their computer and be served breakfast at their desk while they watched the videos of practice the day before. They would then start that day's practice. They would eat lunch at the desk, reviewing those same hours. And then depending on the organization, they would spend their afternoons and evenings either doing more practice or streaming. And that streaming element is a very important part of this because that streaming element still, as it stands today, is the only profitable part of esports. Depending on the org you ask, depending on the team that you're talking to, they're all going to sing a different song about how little money they make. That's their favorite thing to talk about. We're losing money, we're blowing money, but we're the only ones that really care, so we're trying to fix it. That's what every owner in esports will tell you. But the reality is that's not really the case. The esports team on that P&L, yes, I think you'd be very hard pressed to find one that's truly profitable. However, it's not just the esports team. It's not just those players. That's not the entire revenue stream of this organization or esports team that exists. And very early on, the team owners realized that the way to make money here was not the traditional sports way. It wasn't to sell out venues. It wasn't to sell merchandise. It wasn't to get the best player and hope you win and get these big prize bonuses. And the reason for that is because publishers are God here. They control everything. The team owners cannot do anything without the publisher's blessing. And I'm sure this is not news to most of you here. But the reality is this is very different than football or soccer or whatever else, that you can just start your own league and you can monetize and profit however you want. Here instead, somebody owns the football. So you can't do the same. And that left team owners in a weird position. We spent all these millions of dollars to come in and try to do this the right way. But we are now dealing with a lot of legal issues because we are not following child labor laws or employment laws or anything else. And we can't stop that because that's the only way we're staying afloat while we don't have any rights to the underlying intellectual property or anything else there. So around 2016, when we started really going hard at both my companies, we did over 500 esports contracts in just 2016 alone without charging a single player. We did it entirely pro bono and free because the ecosystem was that bad that we could do a lot quickly to clean things up, but also because the players were quite literally told by their owners, you're not allowed to get an attorney. If you get an attorney, you're off the team. Again, that's highly illegal, but that's what they were doing. And not all, but most, enough that it created that's what you did as a player. So the many things kind of happened at once as we started making noise. There was other attorneys and agents coming in the space also making noise, and credit across the board to all of them. But the various things that happened all at once where Riot and Blizzard came out and said, no more contractors. If you want to be a professional player in one of our leagues, team owners, you have to call your players employees. And that was a huge step in the right direction, because not only did that mean these players now got benefits, it also meant that they were protected a lot better under California law, where most of the players were in the early days of the truly successful teams. No knock on Germany, you guys have always been killing it too, but let's be real, Cali was number one. And about that time, I moved to California to expand its firm and everything else, and really kind of watch it level up to where it was going with League of Legends and Dota and the Overwatch. Someone muted me. But you can't silence me. But but the Overwatch League was it was a great success on season one. We had never seen money like that come into the space. And also what the Overwatch League started was minimum contract standards for players. It created minimum salaries. It created no more of these absurd team houses, no more of these banning girlfriends or significant others. You were treated as a human being now, that even if you were on an esports team, which was great. And so we watched that kind of come together pretty quickly. And as a result, the teams again realized that now we have these players for less time, we're making slightly less money. So how do we remedy that? I know they all got lots of promises about sharing in-game items and merchandise and all these other revenue streams, but none of that worked out and in any serious way. Counter-Strike being really the only exception to that, where the in-game signed skins and items do quite well. But outside of that, you look at the rest of the esports ecosystem, and the team owners realized everyone watching all of these games, no matter what title it is, are typically doing it through Twitch. There's been a lot of missteps. There were some team owners that went to Facebook Gaming, which obviously never really got a following. Some went to YouTube, which YouTube has more minutes watched than anything else on the internet, but the live version of YouTube for events, it's not even on YouTube's front page. So that too was an abysmal failure for the leagues and teams that went there. But the owners saw Twitch, and they saw that Twitch was the TV for anyone under the age of 20. That's where they watched when their show ended or their favorite streamer clicked end stream. They just found something else to watch, but they didn't leave Twitch. So somebody keeps muting me. But they realized this was a huge opportunity, and they went forward and started negotiating directly with Twitch. And what they did pretty quickly was all of these teams and organizations got their own team level deal with Twitch. And what that did was, for every X amount of viewable minutes or X amount of hours watched, Twitch would basically give a bonus to that organization. And that led to a huge cultural shift in about 2017 when teams were signing esports players. All of a sudden, you would be hard pressed to find a team owner that actually their priority was winning. And instead, they were looking for who has the biggest Twitch audience. So you can see that happen in League of Legends. You can see that happen in Overwatch League. Right around the end of 2016, started 2017, and throughout that next 12 months, you see a huge shift in all the best players in the world being signed to all the best players with social media followings being signed. So our biggest clients at the inception of the Overwatch League was Siegel, who's an incredible player, but he was not number one by any calculation, but he had far and away the largest audience. So he became who everybody wanted. And that was an interesting shift again in just the entire ecosystem. And now fast forward over the next few years, and you can see that these teams continue this strategy. Our biggest client at the agency Evolved is XQC. XQC started in the Overwatch League. We've been working with him since he had 7 followers, but he too realized that I'm spending all day grinding and trying to be the best at Overwatch. Meanwhile, every time I go live on Twitch, I'm printing money. So why am I doing this? I'm making less money in Overwatch League. I'm having less fun. It's stressful. I'm getting burned out, versus just being able to go create my own content and do whatever else. So around 2018 is when we saw that shift of a lot of esports pros who had these followings that were the faces of their teams. All of a sudden overnight, all left those teams. And now esports once again had this big issue of, what do we do here? There's not a lot of following anymore. Our revenue is plummeting because as XQCs left the leagues and started their own channels, they watched their revenue go out the window. So so the teams in all of the esports leagues started kind of forgetting about esports and signing content creators outside of the games. So fine, XQC, you don't want to play Overwatch League anymore? No stress. we're going to still sign you to our org, but you're just going to be a streamer. And that was what we watched happen, again, across the board everywhere, that these esports teams haven't been esports teams since 2018. They turned into media companies, they turned into media conglomerates, and there's still a ton of esports fans and eyeballs and numbers and tournaments and money spent and everything else. I don't want to act like esports is dead, like you can Google and read 1,000 headlines on. The grassroots love and passion and eyeballs and energy are still very much there. But the strategy of the ecosystem, the revenue of everything switched to content creation. And because these orgs have these Twitch deals that paid them for however many minutes or hours they got watched, they just started signing everybody that had a follow. But around 2019, Twitch got hip to that game. And Twitch said, why are we doing this? Why are we paying the orgs anything? We're just going to negotiate directly with the creators. And so end of 2019, start of 2020, you'll also see a major shift in the industry and ecosystem from all the biggest names on earth being signed to an organization to just being completely on their own. And again, we can use XQC as an example. He was with a team in the Overwatch League, then he went to Luminosity as just a streamer, and now he hasn't been with an org since about 2020 because it makes no sense. Why go to an org that is going to take up sponsorship categories or give you deliverables or ask for things in return when you can go negotiate directly with Twitch, negotiate directly with brands, negotiate directly with whoever you want, and make 100x what you would on that org. And that kind of brings us to where we are today, where people are calling it an esports winter, and I think that's very reasonable. This is definitely the darkest time of esports since I've started in it. But I don't think it's dead, because there are still, like I said, humans are competitive by nature. If you have a league or an ecosystem or anything else where you say there's an opportunity to be the best at this, people will try to be the best at it. And then people will also, when they realize maybe we're not the best at it, they're going to watch people who are. That's been sports throughout human history, and esports is no different when it comes to the psychology of it all. But the content creator ecosystem has dwarfed it. We just recently did a $100 million deal for XQC just to stream. That's all it is. It's a streaming deal. And he still makes a lot more doing sponsors and activations and everything else. I mean, this is more than anyone in entertainment. This is more than any athlete you'll find, save for the rarest of exceptions. It's more than LeBron James, more than Messi going to Miami. It's more than any movie star that a contract that's ever been signed. It's more than any musician. This is where the eyeballs and money are now. And everyone on this call, whether you're attorneys or trying to come in the space or anything else, that's what you should be looking at, I would say. Because despite us being early here, there's still plenty of room for everyone else to see a lot of big wins and a lot of success. As I don't think society is going backwards from where COVID brought us. And the last I'll say is I hear that a lot, that COVID changed everything. I don't think that's true. If you look at the timeline I just went through, I think what COVID did was speed up what was already happening, which is where we were headed, and it's a fine place to be. So now it's about doing things the right way, making sure these creators and streamers are fighting for their own rights and getting what they deserve. It's also about not making the other side of the industry the bad guy. Early in my career, I was less professional about, just because the org owner or the team is demanding things or trying to do things or whatever else doesn't make them the enemy here. You can have a mutually beneficial relationship with Kick or Twitch or with G2 or TSM or whoever else. And that's what we strive to do now, and make a positive ecosystem where everybody can see the wins and success here, because there's plenty of success to go around. And I'll shut up there.
Awesome. Ryan, thanks so much. This will be an invaluable VOD at the end of the day for everyone who wants to know what happened over the last years and why it happened.